Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the show. Tens of billions of dollars. Are we that easy? Greetings, everyone. Come in, come in. Quite a show for you today. $9 billion. $9 billion. That's the number now being thrown around in what is considered to be nothing less than shocking fraud allegations out of Minnesota. And it's not the FBI or the mainstream media leading the charge. It's a YouTuber named Nick Shirley. And his videos are absolutely blowing up the timeline. His investigations, they claim that billions in public money have been funneled through shadowy programs, sketchy nonprofits, and contracts that nobody can fully explain. Now, names like Governor Tim Walz, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who we are going to look at today, and even President Donald Trump are being dragged into the conversation as this political firestorm explodes. Now, before we go any further, remember, these are allegations and reports. These are not yet proven facts. They are being investigated. And everyone mentioned in this video is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. This is news commentary and analysis of what is being said. This is not a verdict. I'm Zero Dark Tony. This is the Zero Dark Tony Show, and I am your host for the festivities today. And we are going to learn a lot, and we're going to put it all in a nice little format for you to be able to watch. If you're on that mobile device, give me a boop, 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 boop. Double tap that screen or hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and share this video out with a friend. So let's get into this. The Minnesota fraud scandal. Here we go.
Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner joins me now. It's very hard to understand how this has gone on for so many years, especially considering there were a couple guilty pleas on this. And the governor's office, Tim Walz, has said that they have been on it. There's an investigation, but yet nobody's been found guilty of anything.
Well, Happy New Year, Julie. Thank you for having me. I know from HUD's standpoint, you know, we have boots on the ground right now. We have investigators that are making sure that any HUD-funded programs in Minnesota are being carried out appropriately. Also, we just launched an investigation into housing authorities, public housing authorities there in Minnesota. They receive about $108 million in Minneapolis and also about $46 million in public housing assistance there. So we want to make sure that we're being good stewards over taxpayer money. So these investigations are going on right now from a HUD standpoint. And to the president's point, we have to root out this fraud and abuse and this waste, because this is hard-working American taxpayer funds, and there's been criminal activity going on. And so we have to root it out and continue to enforce the law.
Okay, so let's talk about the alleged lawbreakers. They are Somali immigrants. That is a fact. And the investigation will continue to find whether or not there are other people involved. But nonetheless, you've got mainstream media that seems to be focusing less on the actual massive fraud scandal that is happening and developing every day more and more. We're learning more out of Minnesota, and focusing more on the Somali immigrants that are actually the real victims in all of this. Listen to this exchange on CNN, for example.
What's going on here is very clear. It's a targeting of the Somalis.
Everything seems to be about whether or not the people
involved here are Somali.
The white evangelical crowd who purports to uphold these Christian values are celebrating targeting communities because of their ethnicity and cutting off care to children.
And it's not just racist and xenophobic, it's actually dangerous, because what Donald Trump is doing in targeting this community, it's putting American citizens in danger.
Oh, boy.
What does targeting Somali immigrants and communities and racism, quite frankly, have to do with illegal activity? I mean, there are videos, there are surveillance videos of people actually exchanging hands, exchanging money with parents that are pretending to bring their kids to these leaning centers. I love that one with the typo on that learning center. And then taking their kids away and people collecting money on it. I can't understand what ethnicity has to do with that. That's just fraud.
Well, Julie, it has nothing to do with it's smoke and mirrors. This is all a distraction from what the real problem is here. This has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with ethnicity. We have to, under President Trump's leadership, American people are first. Our country is first. Has nothing to do with the Somalis, but it has everything to do with criminal activity. Our job, when we get appointed, elected, our job is to uphold the law, and so that's what you see going on right now. And there's a lot of people in our country, the clip that you showed, some of the media, far left activists that actually do not want the laws of America to be upheld. But this is a day with President Trump and other leaders in our administration where we're going to uphold the law, enforce the law, and prioritize the American people and American people only.
I want you to listen to David Sachs on why he believes that Democrats aren't outraged over Somali fraud. Let's listen.
Democrats denouncing government waste is like Don Corleone denouncing the mafia.
Good to see you.
Okay. The Democrat Party is the party of government waste and spending, taxation. It's the party of government, okay? And they just want the government to be as large as possible. And if a big chunk of that goes to fraudsters, so be it. You know what? Those fraudsters are donors too.
Yeah, I mean, the government has been doling out millions of dollars for fraudsters, and the Democrats don't think to seem that's a problem.
Well, yes, ma'am. With our agency,
and that's where the racial signaling comes in. And I also believe that that is a diversion tactic to not talk about what's really going on.
Report that just came out at HUD, we found that a potential over $5 billion of payment errors were made during the Biden administration. Ooh. So not only is this a massive abuse of taxpayer dollars, but it also was incentivized because of the negligence and the inability of the Biden administration to put in proper financial controls. And so you think about it, those that don't want the law to be upheld, obviously either they're benefiting from it or they don't care about our country. But this is a new day.
I would have to agree. If you are not full on 100% cooperating, then I think there's something wrong, right? And now ICE. We are now into the ICE age here because ICE has been deployed in areas of Minnesota. So let's hear about that.
Now on the ground in Minneapolis, conducting a massive investigation into child care and other widespread fraud as DHS and the FBI ramp up a statewide crackdown. Federal prosecutors say that the total fraud in Minnesota could ultimately be more than $9 billion. ICE Director Todd Lyons joins us now. Mr. Director, thanks so much for joining the program. I want to bring your attention to this. This is a stat that we got
come in.
Attorney General. 98 individuals were charged. 85 of
Breaking
those
news,
charged
$9 billion
of Somali descent.
missing.
And we know that some of this money was going to terrorism and, of course, criminal activity. What can you tell us about what you're learning on the ground there?
Hey, Lawrence, good seeing you. Yeah, so ICE has been on the ground in Minnesota for a while now looking at these fraud claims. And one thing now the Homeland Security Investigation Special Agents are looking into is just that you said, that money trail of where this money is going to foreign aid. Obviously looking at any type of links to any criminal activity, obviously terrorism activity, and one thing you will see is that ICE is actually out there going with criminal warrants to conduct these investigations. So all too often you hear that ICE is just out there terrorizing the community or conducting administrative work. We've been on the ground in Minnesota conducting criminal investigations, and Homeland Security investigations has gone door to door
Welcome,
to a lot
everybody.
of these
Welcome.
suspected fraud sites all over St. Paul and Minnesota, and we're learning a lot.
You know, Mr. Director, this is what the governor is saying in response to this in a statement. The governor has worked for years to crack down on fraud and asked the state legislature for more authority to take aggressive action. He has strengthened oversight, Governor Tim Walz, spokesperson. But they hadn't.
When are we going to hear something directly from Tim Walz? You know, a lot of these are from spokespeople.
Been aggressive, and it wasn't until your leadership as well as the president's leadership that you guys start serving these criminal warrants. So who dropped the ball here?
You know, Lawrence, what we're seeing is there's always a tie when it comes to sanctuary jurisdictions where you can hide in plain sight. You see a lot of these fraudsters use a lot of the sanctuary rules and sanctuary protections to, you know, enact in criminal fraud just like this. You know, Secretary Noem has had us up in Minnesota. We had Operation Twin Shields with the FBI, CIS, and Homeland Security investigations. We were in September and November. We've been on the ground for so long looking into these states that are conducting these type of material fraud. And when Homeland Security investigations goes into these businesses, you know, there is criminal activity when it comes to labor trafficking, child trafficking, human exploitation. And that's where we're looking.
And I'm going to show something a little later where this is spreading to different parts of the United States. This is something that is widespread, in my opinion.
At up there in Minnesota. And you always come back to these sanctuary jurisdictions.
You can only watch one at a time.
Where you'll find them, like again, hiding in plain sight and using those sanctuary protections to employ, you know, not only illegal aliens, but conduct criminal fraud just like you're seeing right now.
It's unbelievable. I want to get your reaction to this, Mr. Director. This is the mayor of Los
Welcome,
Angeles.
everybody. Welcome. Come in,
This
come
is what
in.
she had to say about
Breaking
Latino
news.
border agents. Let's listen.
Well, in a way, I think it's
Oh,
sad.
boy.
I think that those Border
Oh,
Patrol
boy.
agents are going to have
Oh,
a difficult
Karen.
time when they're out in the field and they see what actually happens in real life, separate from their training. But I do understand that
mayor
their
on the
primary
planet.
incentive is financial.
What's your response to that, Mr. Director?
You know, those are just sad comments. The men and women of ICE are all from all nationalities. We have so many that are first-generation Americans that just want to serve their country and they want to be federal law enforcement officers. You know, and it's really bad to politicize law enforcement in any aspect, but to take cheap shots at the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to go out there and serve the nation, to make their communities safe. And it's just not a time and place for any type of elected officials to use, you know, the fact of a racial profiling in reverse, targeting the men and women of law enforcement.
Karen Guevara.
It's pretty insane, especially when you consider that the Border Patrol is 50% Hispanic. And of course, there's a lot of minorities that are policing federal agents and ICE as well. And you're leading with them, Todd. Mr. Director, thanks so much for joining the program.
And, you know, this is going to be, we're going to jump to some Nick Shirley footage here on Patrick Bet-David, some other parts of an interview that he did with him. I recommend going and watching the thing in its entirety after the show here. Nick Shirley is a YouTuber and independent investigator who digs into public records. He had a gentleman with him who was an investigator who has been doing this for quite a long time. And we're going to look at some of that coverage now.
All the allegations that you're making are true.
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own
Very
analysis.
fair.
Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
Whitney Wild, correspondent for CNN, who, by the way, Nick gets, I think, 1 million views more than.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are
She's
a
validating
legitimate
your
business.
Have you seen that the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
Minnesota Republicans say despite the new focus from the Trump administration, they have been sounding the alarm on fraud for years.
You know, we have talked about fraud. We have gotten stories. We've tried to push this forward every way that we can.
You can pause it
At
right
the
there.
day.
So this is yesterday in Minnesota.
Yeah, yesterday in Minnesota.
Wow. And you went back to Minnesota because you just told me that you're working on a part 2 yourself.
Yeah, because there's a lot more fraud.
How much more did you find?
oh, we found a lot more businesses that don't exist. There's millions of dollars. We found daycares with more $1 million daycares. I mean, there's literally hundreds of daycares receiving millions of dollars in Minnesota at this moment as we speak.
So from the first one, you guys were over $100 million of fraud that you found, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the second one, now the recent one that you were there yesterday, how much more did you guys find yesterday?
I have to do all the numbers, which I'll do when I do all my editing, but at least another $10 million.
Another $10 million bucks. Okay, so on the other side, while you're doing this, what caused you? And we see this man named David, right? We keep seeing this man named David, who I think yesterday he said, if you want to, I'll put $100,000 for anybody that can prove any of this wrong because this is government document. How did you and David? Rob, is this the clip where he says that?
Yep.
Do you want to play this clip of David?
Don't call any parents. Anybody want to take me up? You $100,000 if you can.
$100,000.
You can disprove my information.
So give me a copy of what you have, and I can
If you can disprove my information.
100,000. 100,000.
Page by page.
Keep going page by page. Keep going. Come on, girl. Just keep your video on it,
Okay.
and just screenshot it while you're going.
Let me know when you got it.
All those people out there defending the fraud, and then he gives them the option.
They're defending the fraud.
Yes.
Make sure you hit that like button, guys.
They're not on your side.
No.
How many of those people are on your side right there?
None of those people you're hearing in the background.
Just you and David and the camera guy.
Just me and Dave. Yeah, I was my cameraman.
So who's recording you there?
That's somebody doing a live stream. That's
from them. That's not even yours. That's that Kadra Abshir that's recording you.
Yes.
Got it. So they're recording you, and he's offering $100,000 to go prove if any of these things are wrong.
Yes.
So how did you and David get linked up?
David messaged me on Instagram, and out of the hundreds of DMs I get, I just opened David's, and he had all the proof. Because I've known about the fraud happening for so long in Minnesota, since back in June. I've known about the fraud, but it's hard for me to go out and get all the information because they make it very hard to get the information. Luckily, David had somebody inside the Capitol who's been leaking him all the numbers.
But when they're surrounding you, when people are surrounding you, and some of the things that Nick has reported is they've called his family members, they've harassed his younger sister on the phone, contacting his younger sister. So this is the lengths that individuals will go to when you reveal the truth. If they had a leg to stand on, quite frankly, there would be no question. They would go, you know what? Look at our records. Here they are. Is that happening? No, it's not.
Him all the information.
Somebody from the Capitol.
Yes.
In Minnesota.
Yes. So all the numbers that David has are 100% correct, and also they're on the state. Also, they're from the government, from the state. But David told me he knew the numbers, and I said, okay, I'm coming to Minnesota. Let's do this video. Line out some of the daycares you'd like to go see, because I know about the fraud. I knew that the fraud was happening. I just needed somebody like David to come that's lived it, to be able to really solidify my claims and my ideas about the fraud that's happening. And you saw the video. Everything we said was true.
And this is David explaining the fraud, right, Rob? This is in front of Minnesota. Go for it.
Massive fraud is going on here in the state of Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis. Explain to me what's going on with the daycares.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there's an exceptional number of child care centers that are set up mostly in Minneapolis, but also in St. Paul. And I said, wow, how many kids are there in the Twin Cities? Some of them are by my office, and I would watch, and I said, well, there aren't any kids there. And I go to another one, there aren't any kids there, and I'd see just some Somali guys outside smoking cigarettes. So I stopped at one of them, and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, I've got a grandson who's looking for childcare, and I wonder if this might be a good facility.
Yeah, Dill, that's someone's private life versus versus individuals who have a business that have signage. Okay, get yourself together. Maybe go have a cup of coffee and catch up with
And they said, no, we're all full. And they had the door open, and I looked, and there were no kids. There was like a couch and a table with a couple chairs. And
if you don't see the difference in the two, you might have hit your head.
I said, well, are the kids out back playing, or what kind of place is this? And the guy said, you go. And he almost pushed me out the door, and then he followed me down the street to my car. And that's when I said, wait a minute, there's some going on here, and that's got to be maybe
I don't
5
condone
years
that
ago.
kind of behavior. Maybe
This
you do.
fraud is so massive. When the dust settles on this, it's going to be found to be the largest fraud in the history of the country and probably the world. It's that big.
You can pause
the ones
right
that
there. Is that true? That genetics is that's genetics right there? Is that mom?
Yes, that's my mom.
So now, good for you. You got great genes. You know, she's very comfortable doing this as well. Very cool.
Mom, aka Booker T. Jones, also an intrepid independent journalist. Very enjoyable to watch these two. The mother-son combo is very strong here. Kid got some good genetics.
So the largest fraud in the world, in America, on what he's talking about. I hope we get to the bottom of this. So you and David get linked up, and then you just said, "Why don't we just go interview?" That's kind of how it started.
Yeah, I thought when we go, like, we'll walk to these daycares, we'll talk to them. But the first daycare we go to, all the windows are blacked out. And I tried to open the door and nobody answered. I ring the doorbell, nobody answered.
Yeah.
And that daycare, they had 2 daycares running out of that same building, and they had both.
I think a lot of people falsely classify Nick in a political sense when this is as objective as it gets.
Had 2 different contracts of more than $1 million for the.
It's an independent journalist who has every right to bring these facts to the table, and you could do with them what you want. The truth will out.
These daycares. And I was very shocked to see that the response from the public after that was, "Oh, why is he going and knocking on these doors?" Because millions of dollars are going there. We have a responsibility to know where our dollars are going. But it just went to show that the fraud is insane. And then the people are saying, well, that daycare is closed. Well, how come there's a sign that says it's open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
So the one that the CNN reporter claimed that you came after business hours, that you said you came at 11 to 5 o'clock, they have a sign that says they're open Monday through Sunday?
That one right there, the first part in the video.
Open 7 days a week. What is it? Zoom in a little bit, Rob,
I can't because it's a video, but it says open 7 days a week, 7 a.m.
So there you go. Public signage, street view, with hours, a phone number. Big difference between this and someone's private life. Understand that.
a.m. to 10 p.m.
It says that right on the sign.
Right there, right
Got
underneath
it.
the phone number.
This is the Mako, what is it called? Mako Child Care Center?
Yeah.
Is that another misspelled Mako, or is that really the name?
I don't know, but what's funny about that is there's actually 2 childcare companies inside that same building, but they're not showing the second one. And so they have 2 childcare businesses operating that same
Within
room.
the same place?
Yes.
And how much money are they getting?
This one together over the past few years, they have it right there. But
1.6
combined,
million?
they received over 5 million.
That gentleman on the left, David, has been doing this for years, looking at this. In fact, I'm going to show you some videos today from, I believe, 2015 that are staggering. This has been a problem for a long time.
$1 million.
Stop it.
Just that one building alone.
And so what is the business model? Somebody just stays there all day, no kids, and they just take the cash?
Yeah, that's why all the windows are all boarded up, or why they're all blacked out.
Now, let me ask you, Nick. There was a video from 2019. Is it 2019, 2020? You know the video where parents would come, drop off the kids, and then take the kids out a minute later, not even drop them off. Come in, register, then they leave. You know which video I'm talking about, Rob? Yep. And allegedly, they were getting paid. That's the one right there. What year is that video from?
It says 2015, March 31st of 2015.
This is from 15.
Yes.
That they've been doing this. So this is a surveillance. Maybe you can narrate to the audience what's going on here.
Well, we're gonna get to, well, you know what?
Yes, so basically what they're doing inside these daycares, I don't doubt that there's 1 or 2 or a few children inside these daycares. It'd be very stupid to be receiving millions of dollars and not bring at least a few kids to daycare every day, right? But what they're
This is surveillance video.
Doing here is they're bringing in children, and then
2015.
They're then just leaving after a few minutes of being inside the daycare. And I don't know if this is the same video where it shows the guy giving the cash to the ladies working.
Do you have the audio on there? So there is one that says they're showing that.
Oh, there it is.
Same case.
He's handing
shows
the cash.
a man handing out envelopes of what are believed to be kickback payments to parents who are in on the fraud.
Where was the money going? I don't know exactly where it went, but it.
Order for the scheme to work, the daycare center.
You got to be kidding me. So I'll come in, I register my kids, you're able to write them off to make money off them. You send that to the Minnesota government. Hey, I have this many kids. Then they get paid. Then they come and give a kickback to the parents.
Yes.
So the problem with this is these parents are no longer going to get payments, and someone's going to call somebody out. And this has been happening for over a decade. It's not like this is a new thing that's happening. How many whistleblowers have been emailing you, DMing you, texting you, getting a hold of you? How many more whistleblowers have gotten a hold of you and David?
Yes, so many people have been reaching
Over
out. It's been
700 in the building. Hit the like button. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Jump in the chat.
Almost like overwhelming to go through all the messages. But the people of Minnesota are so fed up with this fraud because now finally somebody's actually getting it out to the national level, because local journalists have been talking about it for years, but they've never been able to get it out to a national level like I was able to do. And so just the millions of dollars. And if you talk about why they're just giving them cash, it's because the money they receive is tax exempt, CCAP funding, and then these women that are working inside these daycares, they're not. My assumption is that they're not actually on payroll, and that's why 81% of the Somali population is on welfare inside the state of Minnesota, is because they don't actually receive a W-2 or 1099, whatever it would be, to claim.
So a lot of this cash would be now at this point. Some of it will be completely untraceable. Some purchases will be looked at. I'm sure there will be a full forensic auditing of a lot of this money. But speaking of that, on the thumbnail, I have Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Let's have a listen to what could possibly happen to her. Hit the like button.
Thanks, guys. A Fox News alert. A flood of new information is coming out about Minnesota's massive fraud scandal. Each new revelation is fueling more and more demands for answers from Democrat Governor Tim Walz and his administration. The FBI saying it's massing resources to get those answers. This is the Faulkner Focus. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas.
Over 1,000 people in the building.
So
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody.
Is documenting some damning sites at multiple Somali-run child care centers in Minneapolis. The videos are shocking. They show misspelled signs, boarded up windows, locked doors at no children at the centers that reportedly received millions of dollars in state and federal funding. That journalist is now speaking out about his findings. Watch.
I've known about the fraud taking place for a long time. Minnesotans have been telling me for a long time about the Somali fraud that is taking place. And with his help, we were able to crack over $110 million in fraud in one day.
One day.
And that's just the tip.
Wow.
When people say it's the tip of the iceberg, it really is, because there's billions of fraud inside the state of Minnesota right now. A kindergartner could figure out that there's fraud going on.
Walz's office pushed back against the videos, saying, quote, the governor has worked for years to crack down on fraud and asked the state legislature for more authority to take aggressive action. He has strengthened oversight, including launching investigations into these specific facilities, end quote. House Majority Whip and Minnesota.
This, again, is a spokesperson for Governor Tim Walz, not a quote from Tim Walz.
Minnesota Republican Tom Emmer with this.
If what they're saying is real and can be documented, and what they're saying is they told Tim Walz about the fraud when it was happening, and he not only ignored them, he retaliated against him. I'm telling you, Molly, if that's accurate and it can be proven, Tim Walz needs to be held accountable. Everybody in his administration needs to be held accountable. It's time that we find answers to all these questions and hold everybody accountable.
Congressman Chip Roy is coming up, but first, Garrett Tenney has more on this mess. Hi, Garrett.
Hey, Julie. One of the most surprising things about this new alleged fraud in the child care space in Minneapolis is that it really isn't new at all. There have been reports about this very thing happening since even before Tim Walz took office.
Hit that like
and
button
it appears
for me, guys.
that it has largely been allowed to continue without much interruption. One example of a child care business that is now under the microscope is Quality Learning Center, or Leering Center, as the sign says. The business is—
There's the Leering Center right there. The Leering Center, if you want to get in there and do some serious leering, that is the spot.
Is licensed for 99 children, from infants to toddlers, but the business hours are from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Over the past 3 years, it has been cited for more than 120 violations for all kinds of things, including for not having proper documentation for all of the kids there. Despite that, the local ABC station reported back in January that the business has still been able to receive nearly $8 million in federal tax money since 2019. We've also confirmed that the owners took out more than $200,000 in PPP loans during the pandemic that were completely forgiven. Nick Shirley says there were similar red flags at some of the other child care centers that he tried to visit in the Twin Cities.
But it's so obvious.
Like and subscribe, guys.
If you're living in Minnesota, you have to raise your eyebrows and think, what's going on? Literally, if you drive around Minnesota, around Minneapolis, you'll see daycare centers, autism centers. You will then see transportation companies that have snow piled up as if they haven't moved in months.
After Shirley's videos went viral, FBI Director Kash Patel posted that the Bureau is all over this, saying fraud that steals from taxpayers and robs vulnerable children will remain a top FBI priority in Minnesota and nationwide. The FBI believes this is just the tip of a very large iceberg. We will continue to follow the money and protect children, and this investigation very much remains ongoing. While Governor Tim Walz and other state officials are now claiming that they are taking steps to investigate and to keep this from happening again, remember, these claims of fraud in child care centers are not new. In fact, all the way back in 2018, as Walz was making his first run for governor, sources in the Somali community told our local station, KMSP, that it was an open secret that starting a daycare center and billing the federal government for it was like getting a license.
I think this is going to spread from everywhere in the Midwest, and it is just going to spiderweb its way out. Florida, New York, the Carolinas, Georgia, California, Nevada. I think this is something that somebody caught on to, and it went nationwide. That's my opinion.
To make money. Julie?
Garrett Tenney, thank you. Republican Congressman Chip Roy of Texas, member of the Judiciary Budget and Rules Committees, joins me now. Thank you so much for talking to us. All right, so let's just talk about Walz and his credibility here when he says that he didn't know that any of this was going on when it's such a massive fraud scandal. How could he not know?
Yeah, Julie, great to be with you. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. And,
you too.
You know, it defies all logic and reason to believe that Governor Walz was ignorant of what was happening in Minnesota. Let's be clear. He was campaigning on it last year with respect to the campaign with Vice President Harris in her run for the presidency. He literally was talking about it. Thank God that President Trump won that election. Thank God that we do not have a Harris-Walz presidency, because they would be encouraging this to continue, whereas this president is rooting out the fraud, securing the border, stopping the flow of people into our country. But this is what happens when you have massive welfare programs that are funding people that are coming into our country, whether it's illegally or, frankly, through legal channels that are being abused by the radical left and the Marxists who want this to occur. The Somali community knew full well what they were doing. It's a part of an enterprise-wide effort that's global, tied to the United Nations, tied to world organizations, NGOs, our own taxpayer dollars that are being used against us while we import people to be put on the welfare state, to be put on Medicaid, and to take taxpayer money. It's fraud that has to be stopped, and people need to be removed, deported, denaturalized, and sent back to Somalia.
I just want to.
So what do you guys think of that? Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with Chip Roy. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Let's see where everybody is at. And we love to have all different opinions here. Just remain respectful. That's all we ask.
No, how are they going to recoup
We're
that
easy
money?
like Sunday morning
Is
here.
that what Walz is now going to concentrate on? Because he says that investigations are ongoing in these centers, but where's the money? And why should taxpayers have to foot the bill? Who's going to end up paying the government back? Or is it going to be the responsibility of Congress, of taxpayers?
Well, importantly, I'm really proud that we've at least put some fraud protection in the big, beautiful bill, working with President Trump and what we did with the work requirements and Medicaid, because we knew that there was ripe for abuse. But we've got to go a lot farther at the federal level, and we've got to hold states accountable. Right now, they know what they're doing, and they're trying to take this money. And by the way, this is the tip of the iceberg. Let's go look at what Gavin Newsom in California, what they're doing with the billions of dollars. And we know there is massive Medicaid fraud going on in California. We've got to stop that at the federal level and at the state level. And look, one of the reasons I'm leaving Congress to run for Attorney General, Medicaid fraud is a central element of being Attorney General of a state. Keith Ellison was neck deep in all of this. Keith Ellison is friendly with CARE, friendly with groups that are affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood. All of this stuff is connected. And if we don't recognize that, then we're not going to win this battle, because it's a purposeful effort to exploit our laws to allow people to come to this country, try to Islamify our country, and use the welfare state to do it.
Critics are also asking why Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's husband reportedly purged key officer official details from his $25 million venture capital firm's website. Now, this move comes amid growing questions about the couple's wealth and possible connection to the welfare fraud. According to her latest financial disclosure in May, the couple's net worth surged 3,500% in just...
What? What? The couple's net worth, Ilhan Omar and her husband, from this report here, their net worth jumped 3,500% in 1 year. Okay. 1 year. It estimates now putting it anywhere from $6 million to $30 million. Their net worth went up 3,500%. How do you explain that? And then talk about the scrubbing on the website. That doesn't look good. What's Walz doing about that? Is he looking into this?
Well, certainly not. I mean, he's certainly supportive of whatever they're doing. And this is one of the other things that we need to address is the extent to which members of Congress find themselves getting wealthy while they're in Congress. In this case, it appears by being completely in bed with all of the fraudulent activity that's going on in Minnesota. Of course, we should investigate this. Of course, we look into what they're scrubbing from their website. I think we've got to explore this as far as we can, including potentially looking into denaturalizing and removing Ilhan Omar if she's violated our laws. And by the way, we should also ban stock trading among members of Congress, since we're talking about the wealth of Congress, and I have a bill to do that. And I hope we will do that next year. Mike Johnson, the Speaker, is working with us to do that. We've got to stop all of this flow of dollars that is corrupting our system, empower the American people to do what they do best. And we've got to pause immigration. I introduced a bill to pause immigration because we've got to stop this massive abuse of our system, using H-1Bs, using diversity visas. President Trump is exactly right to have frozen the diversity visas, to have stopped that, to freeze the flow from countries of concern. Remember that in 1920, when we had a high percentage of people that were foreign-born, we froze immigration for 40 years. And our country vanquished, the Nazis in Germany, freed the world. We did great things in those 40 years. We can do it again. That's why I introduced legislation to pause immigration. The president's right to do that, and I'm supporting him in that effort.
Okay. Meantime, the Trump administration is working to highlight its achievements this year ahead of next year's midterm elections. And commentator Scott Jennings says that one victory is bigger than the rest. What is it? Let's watch.
I think on the immigration piece, it's been his biggest success this year. It's the biggest promise fulfilled. We've had 2.5 million people deported. A significant number of them were self-deported. They used the government's app or just decided to leave the country altogether.
If there are criminal findings regarding Ilhan Omar, do you think that she should be deported? Let me hear back from you, chat.
I know the left has treated this as some big controversy, but I don't know what's controversial about the president just simply
after her sentence is served,
enforcing the laws that are on the books.
And the numbers back that up. The Department of Homeland Security says that more than 2.5 million illegal immigrants have left the U.S. since Trump took office. Nearly 2 million of those elected.
We're not promoting lies. We're showing the allegations that are in front of us. If you have other, proof or evidence, by all means, go onto a channel and let it be known.
To self-deport. And the White House also says that 0 illegal immigrants have been released into the United States for 7 straight months. The Democrats call that horrible. What say you?
Well, I do think this is the greatest achievement of the presidency. They've dropped down the flow at the border to 0. We feel it in Texas. We're a much safer and stronger country as a result.
I'm promoting nothing but lies. Listen, shut up. Okay? Watch. Make your own opinion. These are allegations which I said in the beginning. Calm yourself down. Enjoy the show.
The president is right. Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, all of the great work of ICE and Border Patrol, they're standing behind them. ICE is removing people that need to be removed. But let's add to that this next year. Let's stop the abuse of our legal immigration system.
Deport.
Let's permanently make reforms so that you can't have H-1Bs and diversity visas that are messing up our country by importing people who are using our welfare system, which you opened this segment with. The president should be congratulated, his entire team, for what they're doing. But we got to finish the job, and Congress needs to codify what the president has been doing, so you can't have a future Biden and Mayorkas that destroys the system. Let's pause immigration. Let's reform the system. Let's make permanent changes to back up what the president's done. And by the way, one underreported piece, the SUE Act, which we included in the Lake and Riley Act last January, which was a bill that I authored with Dan Bishop, that was included, which allows states to sue the federal government if they fail to secure the border in the future, so that we can stop a future Biden-Mayorkas administration from doing that. We're doing a lot of great things, but Congress needs to back the president up in 2026.
Congressman Chip Roy, thank you, and have a happy new year.
So that's what we are seeing. There is some more news developing here. And this is about Tim Walz, okay? Governor Tim Walz called to testify over Minnesota fraud scandal. Let's have a look.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Taylor Murray in for Jan Jeffcoat. It is
and Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2026. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. We are at 30,000 views so far. I thank everybody for checking in. Make sure you hit that like button too.
Thursday, January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year. We'll have much more about New Year festivities and America's 250 years as a nation straight ahead. But we begin this morning with a developing story out of Minnesota where that massive taxpayer fraud scandal is now drawing the attention of Congress. Angela Brown is joining us from the live desk. Now, Angela, House Republicans are turning up the heat, calling for answers, and now calling on Governor Tim Walz to testify about what went wrong and who knew what and when.
That's right, Taylor. Lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee are demanding answers from Walz and other leaders of Minnesota over the fraud scandal that rocked that state. Kentucky Representative James Comer is leading the charge on Capitol Hill. He says on January 7th, the committee will hear directly from Minnesota state lawmakers who sounded the alarm on this fraud. Then on February 10th, he wants Governor Tim Walz and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison to testify before the committee as well.
I look forward to going with my colleagues from the House Fraud Prevention Committee and talk about how we have been leading the fight to expose the fraud and hold agencies accountable for many months. I also look forward to talking about how to protect whistleblowers and for patterns that other states should be looking for in their own state program.
It's unclear right now if Walz and Minnesota AG will actually testify after they've been invited. House lawmakers suspect as much as $9 billion may have been stolen through abuse of government assistance programs. Investigators say some fake businesses were posing as daycare centers, medical providers, food assistance programs, and other services. In response to these allegations, the Trump administration has frozen all federal child care funding to the state. The Treasury Department is looking into whether tax dollars from Minnesota's assistance programs made their way to foreign terrorist organizations as well. We're keeping an eye on this.
And members of Minnesota's congressional delegation issued a formal letter to Governor Tim Walz demanding accountability for the statewide fraud crisis. They want to know if Walz will cooperate with the federal and the House Oversight Committee investigation and recuse himself.
Do you think he's going to cooperate with the federal and the House Oversight investigation, or will he use his immunity?
Recuse himself from state investigations, writing, quote, all told, leading government prosecutors now fear that the scale of taxpayer fraud in Minnesota exceeds over $9 billion in stolen funding. Not only will this be the largest fraud scandal in the U.S. history, but it will also contribute to the nearly $40 trillion in debt facing our nation. Minnesota Congressman Pete Stauber signed the letter and posted, quote, the scale of the fraud makes it impossible for Walz to oversee a fair and honest investigation. And lawmakers outside of Minnesota and the Trump administration are also calling out Governor Walz for the fraud that happened under his watch. President Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, there is more fraud in California than
there you go.
There is in Minnesota, if that's even possible.
I believe
when
that.
You add in election fraud, then they are tied for first. Two crooked governors, two crooked states.
Damn.
This is a top priority for the administration. The Department of Justice, as we speak, is continuing to execute search warrants and subpoenas. People will be in handcuffs as a result of the fraud that Governor Walz has allowed to occur for many, many years.
We're borrowing $1 trillion a year that we don't have, and we shouldn't be giving that money to foreigners. We've focused for years on illegal immigrants and the damage they do to the country. But the fact of the matter is these aren't the legal immigrants of 100 years ago who came to America for freedom and opportunity. Now we're faced with immigrants like these folks from Somalia who just came here to see how much free stuff they can get, whether it's legal or scam. I think we need to cut off all welfare for all immigrants, Americans only.
The Trump administration also paused funding for all child care services in Minnesota until recipients can verify their identity.
So let's get a little further into the Trump Omar issue. We will be getting back to some more Nick Shirley in just a minute. But let's hear again what President Trump said in the Poconos the other night.
I think open borders are great, you know, where prisons are emptied into our country, right? Where people from all over the world being dumped into our country, the people that aren't wanted in their countries, by the way. I think that's a great, like Somalia. Welcome. Do we have any individuals from Somalia in the group? Please raise your hand. That's from Minnesota, you know. That's called the Great Big Minnesota Scam with one of the dumbest governors ever in history.
One of the dumbest
I love
governors
this
ever.
Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military. They have no nothing. They have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing. They have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country. And she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She
married her brother. We got to get her the hell out. The squeeze box.
Married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
Okay, so there's that side. Now we're going to take this to the other side of the same argument. We are going to check in on another Ilhan Omar story here.
She introduced the Meals Act, the 2020 Meals Act, loosened oversight, enabled more than $250 million of fraudulent payouts, yet she says no idea of any wrongdoing.
I just hope there's a text chain, emails, some evidence linking Walz and her to knowledge, because you never, legally speaking, if they knew that something was happening, you've got to prove it. If they can say, I didn't know about it, and you can't prove it, they can get away with that. But even more than the legal aspect of this, I think about the voters in Minnesota. You've got to look at this and say, enough is enough already. But you know, Brian, I'll kick it to you because you're from Minnesota. I wonder how these kinds of leaders have gotten in their positions in the first place. I don't think your voter base is going to kick them out of office, which is just, I mean, it's atrocious. It's shocking to me, but the voter has power here. And if they do nothing about it, then it's on them.
Well, it's that voter power thing. Yeah, like around Minneapolis and St. Paul and the suburbs, I don't know. They always go for.
We're going to watch Ilhan Omar's reaction in just a minute. Stay with me till the end. We're going to find out some amazing things here today that you have not seen.
These guys, they go for
I always got
Walz,
some.
and
Omar's
a smaller district that's voting for her, but it is voter power. And
Well,
what's
welcome
interesting,
everybody's
and I don't know
opinion
where
in the chat.
this is going to go, but one thing you should know is in Minnesota, people have been documenting all of this and digging into this far longer than we've been talking about it at the national level. And there's some really good work there. Omar, just to name one guy, so there's a guy named Guhad Hashi Saeed, who was convicted in August of running a fake food site called Advanced Youth Athletic Development. Okay, whatever that was, definitely didn't serve food. But that guy worked for Omar in 2018 and 2020 as a campaign enforcer. So he made sure that folks in the Somali community in Minneapolis voted and voted for her. Okay, that's the kind of people she consorted with. So what I would say is it's wintertime. There's ice in the lakes in Minnesota. It's very thin right now. When you get out on a thin ice, you might fall in. I think Omar's on very, very thin ice right now. And the more people dig into this, the more they're going to find she was not. This isn't just because programs were set up quickly.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. She knows the people who knew exactly how to crack.
But let's say that they were set up quickly.
They were, but that's not the problem. That's not the main problem.
But the spending stats are clear. I don't need an email to know that it went from one number to exponentially another number every single year, compounding over and over again.
Yeah.
And we had somebody on the other night that was a Republican state senator, and he wanted to put the blame on everybody else. And I would say, your blame's on you too. We argued with people and we told them what was happening. This is where a whistleblower has to come in and say, here are the stats, here are the numbers. I don't need any proof. The math is the math.
I think people get frustrated because I can't figure out the why. Sure, this person, all these people, Democrats in Minnesota, you included, Brian, hate capitalism, right? And so they just want to perpetuate fraud because they're not good stewards of money. There's no shareholder. You would vote, the taxpayer is the shareholder, but if the taxpayers are voting, they're not good stewards of money and they don't care. But what is the why? Just to perpetuate so that we can all be poor
financial
and then go
illiteracy.
To socialism? But why? What is the argument against being a good steward of money?
I don't see
The
it
lack
that
of
way.
knowledge of how to do it.
I don't see it that way at all. I see them as thieves.
Yeah, it's
and
thievery.
it's just straight out.
Yeah.
I want to line my
It
pockets,
is
and I
thieves.
want to go down the socialism route and take it away from you because, again, I want this elite. I want to be part of this elite dominating class that controls things. And Ilhan Omar brought all of these people, or allowed for, let me say, created a situation that allowed for them to swarm into Minnesota. And she is all about, you're one of me. I want you to thrive. Whether
and so that I don't care about tax. I don't care about fraud.
But can I tell you what?
Yes.
So like the voters, all these suburbs around the cities, these people who are not Somali in that community and voted for this stuff. One, they didn't know a ton about it. But two, when they found out about it, do you know what Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar and anybody who they might have asked about it would have said? You're a racist.
Yep.
You're a racist because you're blaming this on Somalis. And in 2020, 2021, and 2022, Minnesota, the home of the whole George Floyd debacle, that had a lot of currency.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons it's taken so long for this to come out.
If you are accountable for taxpayer money, if you demand accountability, you're a bigot and a racist, according to these people. So let's reverse that. They're saying that embracing thievery, fomenting it, and recklessness is noble? No, it's not. And the American people are not idiots. This ends, they get into this job, they run for office because it's a grift. It's a grift for all the people.
It is alarming to see someone's income that is a congresswoman go up 3,500% to a whopping $30 million net worth.
It is a con for all the people who got them elected and enriched them.
And the risk of taking it away is the risk of losing your seat.
So it's gone. This is a reckoning for all of these lying liberal grifters. we've hit $38 trillion in debt. You don't get any more money. No more crying hard times. And like the more that these media outlets, the regime media, write about the poor Somali community.
State comptrollers.
They came into this country. We brought them into this country, and these individuals stole from us. All of them who were behind this will rue the day. All of them.
Full stop. They will rue the day. Now let's have a look from December 3rd, 2025. This is Ilhan Omar on the Jake Tapper show. I believe this channel gets more views than Jake Tapper. So let's have a listen to Ilhan Omar's reaction. Then we're going to get back into some more Nick Shirley.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota is here with me now. First of all, federal prosecutors say 59 people have been investigated in these schemes so far. Americans at large stole tens of billions of forms of aid during the pandemic all over the country. Minnesota's fraud scandal stands out, according to federal auditors. What are you hearing from investigators right now?
Well, I've been following the cases closely as they've gone through the courts, and we know that there are more indictments possibly coming. I think that number might go up to 73 is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Can you shed any light on why the fraud got so out of control in Minnesota?
I think what happened is that, you know, when
this should be rich.
When you have these kind of new programs that are designed to...
Chad, give me your opinion. Guilty or not guilty? This one right here, Ilhan Omar, guilty or not guilty? 3,500% increase in her net worth along with her husband in 1 year.
Help people. You're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate.
How is the Congresswoman worth $30 million?
And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Now, obviously, whatever the ethnic group, the actions of a few dozen should not impugn an entire community of thousands of people. Okay, I want to make that very clear. President Trump has used this fraud to make rather, to me, shockingly bigoted comments about Somalis in general, including you, but the entire Somali community in Minnesota. He did it yesterday and he did it again today. Let's run some of that.
These Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars.
They've taken billions and billions of dollars from our country.
They have a...
Hit the like button, subscribe, and share.
Representative Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. She should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people...
She married her brother. She should be thrown the hell out of the country.
They have destroyed Minnesota. She should not be, and her friends shouldn't be allowed. Frankly, they shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople, okay? They shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople because they don't represent the interests of our country.
It's pretty shocking to hear it, although I don't know how shocked you are at this point anymore. But Somali immigrants, in general, you in particular, have been the target of his attacks for a long time. What's your response?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked because we know that the president oftentimes resorts to very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic, racist rhetoric when he is trying to scapegoat and deflect from the actual failures that he has himself.
Softball questions from old Jake.
We know that this administration has not fulfilled the majority of the promises that they've made, whether it is bringing costs down, whether it is the tariffs that are decimating businesses in the United States, whether it is the possible war crimes that his defense secretary is committing. And so to me, it is important for us, one, to remind folks that we are Americans. We're not going anywhere, and we will continue to be
I don't know about that.
In this country. And two, that Minnesotans are resilient, and we will continue to thrive.
What is the practical impact when a president of the United States demonizes an entire group of people based on ethnicity? And again, you can point to any ethnic group and find dozens of people in that ethnic group who are committing a particular crime. The mafia comes to mind, right?
Oh.
But no one, you don't hear people saying that about Italians. They did 100 years.
Excuse me. All of a sudden, you got to bring Italians into it? Out of here.
Years ago, but they don't do it today. What is the practical effect on the Somali community when the president says things like that?
I mean, it creates fear. And there is a possible danger that a lot of the people who follow the president have exhibited violence in many cases, especially in my case, whenever he has said something about me that is derogatory or says I'm a threat to the country. I have gotten death threats. There are so many people that have been incarcerated.
Welcome to the club.
Incarcerated over the years that have been encouraged by the president's words. And so there is fear for Somalis, not just in Minnesota, but across the country, that some of these people might attack and harm them.
Ahead of the immigration crackdown in Minnesota, CNN asked the Department of Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin about the remarks.
If everybody hits that subscribe button, we will be at 25,000 subscribers. So I encourage you, hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit your notification bells, guys.
From the president, here's what she had to say.
This is not about politics. This is about public safety. We saw what just happened last week with the terrorist attack against us here in our nation's capital, where one of our great heroes, Sarah Beckstrom, was killed. That's what the precipice of this was.
What's your response to that?
Well, it's certainly not. We know that Somalis, over 90% of them are citizens of this country, majority of them having born in the United States. And we know that if you are a criminal, you already have deportation orders, and there is an easy way for them to do that instead of creating this sort of fear where they are having raids. And today we saw them stopping citizens, and people were proving their citizenship by showing their passports. And so we know it has really nothing to do about keeping a community safe.
And not a word about any of her possible involvement. None of the hard questions, just a whole softball interview. Now, Minnesota, and we are going to get to Nick Shirley again in a second, but in Minnesota, there was a fraud investigation done in 2015. So this has been going on longer than a lot of people know or think. Let's go.
How significant is this problem?
Massive.
Steve Halicki spent 15 years as a welfare fraud investigator for Hennepin County. He came to us to grind an axe.
They don't want a fraud unit to do anything. They want a fraud unit on paper.
Halicki was fired in 2013 while in the midst of a big investigation. The county claims he
this is from 2015.
was an insubordinate bully whose tactics were hampering efforts to catch welfare cheats.
They don't want to point fingers at various organizations and people.
Thank you.
This is nothing but a giant cover.
A lot of ties.
Driving down the street, I have no idea.
Halicki contacted the Fox 9 investigators after seeing our series of reports on Deco daycare centers. We uncovered evidence the company was collecting millions in public subsidies for providing bogus child care services to low-income families.
In essence, this scheme was really involved creating a criminal enterprise.
In December, Ramsey County charged Deco's owner with fraud.
The daycares that I'm going to be showing you from this point on all bill over $100,000 a month.
Halicki says before he was fired, he was tracking a similar scheme in Hennepin County involving multiple child care centers. He offered to take us on a driving tour to show what he'd uncovered.
Oh, what does this one say on the door?
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. There are no lights on.
This building is housing its third daycare center in as many years.
They just got a new license.
The two previous daycares had their
Flipping
public
the
subsidies
permits.
stopped by the county because of billing irregularities.
Hour after hour, I would sit here and document nothing.
Halicki discovered one center was charging the county for kids who were never dropped off.
See those double doors over there?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a daycare center. You wouldn't know it from this.
He took us to center after center that had no sign outside to indicate it was a daycare. When we knocked on the doors during posted business hours, no one answered.
If you're driving down the street, would you even know this was a daycare center?
Probably not.
Yet each location has a state license to operate,
But there's nobody in there right now.
and is eligible to collect child care subsidies to serve low-income families.
I mean, that's blacked out up there, so you can't even tell when the lights are on or off.
Exactly.
Why would they do that?
So you can't prove when they're working and when they're not. You could be billing till 11 o'clock at night, but they've gone home, 6 hours earlier.
Each of the
There
centers
you
he
go.
took us to had their windows mysteriously covered.
Why block them off? What are you afraid of? The truth?
Protect kids' identities?
Okay, then why don't the legitimate daycares block them off?
Just because they look
And why don't the legitimate daycare centers black out the windows? That's a good question.
suspicious doesn't mean they're up to no good. So we checked state inspection records for each of the centers on Halicki's tour. They've all been cited for licensing violations, the kind that are red flags to the state's Department of Human Services.
This is a cover-up. This is a deliberate attempt by the officials in Hennepin County to deceive the taxpayers. I have emails, I have documents, I have everything to prove they knew, and they looked the other way.
Here's an email he sent to the supervisor of the fraud unit. The goal was to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible and protect taxpayer money from going out the door. Now you want to stop the process? I know you're motivated and rightly concerned, she responded.
And what do you think happened to this investigator? He was fired.
Let's get a plan together to tackle these centers.
I don't think we would ever intentionally try to deceive the public.
County officials say they take all cases of alleged daycare fraud seriously.
He says they don't want to point fingers at various organizations and people. This is nothing but a giant cover-up.
Our focus is really primarily on prevention, but certainly we investigate and take action and work with our county attorney's office whenever there is actual fraud that has occurred.
In the 2 years
Whenever
since
there
Halicki
is
was fired,
actual-
not one case has been prosecuted by the county. We found most counties in the metro aren't investigating daycare center fraud. They're handing those cases off to a special team with the Department of Human Services that ramped up more than a year ago.
Public's wondering, what's taking you guys so long?
Nobody is more frustrated with the amount of time it's taking than we are. We really want to get through these and get some of these completed.
We're told the state has nearly a dozen active
That sounds like
investigations
someone
underway.
wrote that down for him.
Steve Halicki believes there are probably a lot more to pursue.
This cannot go on. We need to stop this immediately.
Halicki says he's going public with this information because he wants to clear his name. He did appeal his firing from the Hennepin County Fraud Unit, but an arbitrator upheld the county's decision to let him
Imagine that.
go.
Imagine
Fox 9
that.
investigator Jeff Bellion.
Imagine that. Wow. So let's get back to some of the footage from Nick Shirley. This is from the video, I investigated Minnesota's billion-dollar fraud scandal. This has almost 3 million views on YouTube. Let's have a look. Nick.
Future Leaders Early Learning Center. This building received over $3 million.
Wow.
Hello, how are you? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son little Joey here. Is there paperwork or can I check out the daycare? No. Why can't I check out the daycare?
It's not here.
Okay, but if can I get paperwork or anything to submit my son little Joey to come in here to daycare? We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things.
Business card?
No, I would like your business card actually.
You talk to your manager.
Okay, can I speak with somebody? Where are the children at? Are there children here today?
No.
No children.
Yes.
Why are there no children?
Two of Mexico.
Would my son little Joey have friends to play with here?
No.
No.
Yes.
No friends for little Joey.
Yes. Sorry.
Ah, dang it. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
So little Joey would not be accepted to that daycare.
Joey's still homeless.
Joey's still looking for daycare.
And because little Joey couldn't get into a daycare, we went to an autism center, as they have been popping up everywhere as a rise of autism has occurred here in Minnesota because of the government funds that they are receiving. I tried to check my son Joey into an autism center.
We've been going to a lot of these daycare centers. We're trying to find a spot for our little boy Joey, but
they're just looking at daycare. Remember, this is HHS funding. This goes to addiction programs, the elderly, food programs for the kids. So if these people are stealing food from kids in need's mouths, like, what do you guys think of that in the chat? You know?
Thought maybe we could check them in the autism center? Because none of the daycare centers are open. Yeah, and how many kids do you guys have at this autism center?
I can't give you a number now.
Like more than 5?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, so you don't really know?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about like the fraud that's been labeled on the autism centers here? What do you guys do think about the fraud, or how come the autism centers are popping up?
I can't answer.
What news? Are you a news reporter?
My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here, because there's
So why are you asking us about
the fraud. Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
She sounds a little bit defensive, huh?
This is not a Joey spot. Yeah. But that's her number, and yeah, I can call. But this is we can't let you guys do so.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So once again, little Joey, he can't even go to daycare, and now they won't even accept him if he has autism.
And again, no kids. Couldn't tell you how many kids they serve.
After being able to provide no evidence of them actually being an autism center in a place where a child could go, they shut the door and we headed to the next fraudulent daycare center that was just around the corner.
We're on to the next location. We're still trying to find little Joey a place to go to get some daycare.
So where we're going now is a place called Super Kids Daycare Center. Interestingly, this daycare center was shut down when it was called Creative Minds Daycare, and it had received $2.45 million this fiscal year, 2025. Wow. They had to shut down because there were so many violations, and they went and they just reopened under a new license, and they renamed the center Super Kids Daycare Center, LLC.
So they got shut down, then started another one.
Literally the next day.
Creative Minds Daycare, $2.45 million got sent to this daycare center. We have empty parking lot.
$2.4 million. All right, we're going to get back to Nick in just a second. Let's look into the House panel holding hearings on the Minnesota fraud investigations as HSS freezes the money.
Those allegations of fraud at Minnesota child care centers. Federal officials say they're freezing payments across the state while they investigate the claims. The move comes after a YouTuber posted videos alleging empty daycare centers receiving taxpayer money. The House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is getting ready to hold hearings. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the state's Attorney General Keith Ellison have been invited to testify in February. CBS News conducted its own analysis of nearly a dozen daycare centers mentioned by Shirley. CBS News Minnesota's Joe Kaplan adds context.
This is going to have a wide-ranging impact. There are more than 1,100 child care centers here in Minnesota that rely on some form of government funding to help keep the lights on and the doors open, and many parents rely on it. But still, HHS saying that this freeze is necessary, especially to investigate the fraud. And they're crediting that video from YouTube influencer Nick Shirley that HHS and federal officials say shows that rampant fraud in Minnesota.
Intrepid journalists have made shocking and credible allegations of extensive fraud in Minnesota's child care programs.
The widely circulated video from YouTube influencer Nick Shirley purportedly showed empty daycare centers in Minnesota that received millions in federal funds. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is now freezing payments to all child care centers in the state while they investigate those claims. HHS leaders outlining new steps to combat fraud, saying all payments across the country handled by the Administration for Children and Families will require a justification and a receipt or photo evidence before we send money to a state. They also want Governor Tim Walz to conduct a comprehensive audit of the state's child care centers. HHS is launching a fraud reporting
Let's
system.
be clear. These are allegations and nothing has been debunked. Come on. You know, take it easy on the bath salts.
Some hotline too.
Any dollar stolen by fraudsters is stolen from those children.
But several of those daycare centers featured in Shirley's video are pushing back against those fraud claims.
This door is locked.
Like ABC Learning, which shared with us security camera footage showing parents dropping off children on the same day Shirley visited. In this video, you can see Shirley arriving at the center, time-stamped around noon. Within the hour, this woman arrives at the door with a stroller. A few hours later, another larger family goes inside. Just yesterday, CBS Minnesota visited that same licensed facility where we found about a dozen kids. The daycare's owner says this latest move is political.
What did I do? I'm just a typical human being who wants to live and do the right thing. I have kids to feed.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in a statement defending his administration's record and also pushing back and pointing to President Trump in particular about this freeze and the federal government's targeting of Minnesota, saying in this statement, "We've spent years cracking down on fraudsters. It's a serious issue, but this has been his plan all along."
Thank you.
He's politicizing the issue to defund
Appreciate it.
programs that help Minnesota. CBS News and CBS News Minnesota has also visited many of the daycare sites that were cited and mentioned in that Nick Shirley video. We've seen and heard from neighbors as well that kids were showing up there, and we're also hearing again from people pushing back on those claims. HHS, meanwhile, has not provided any update on what's going to happen, especially next week as parents come back to work and people rely on these daycare centers as life resumes coming up in 2026. Jonah Kaplan, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Jonah, thank you. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. So, Aaron, the White House says these fraud allegations are a top priority for the administration. What are you hearing?
Lindsay, good to be with you. It seems to be also a top priority for today for President Trump, as he's posted about Minnesota already 3 times on Truth Social. In his latest post, he claims that 90% of fraud is caused by Somalians who come into the U.S. illegally and that they should be sent, quote, back from where they came. It's worth noting that a majority of Somali Americans who have been charged in fraud cases so far in Minnesota are U.S. citizens and represent less than 1% of Minnesota's Somali diaspora of about 80,000. But that has not stopped President Trump and the White House's constant rhetoric and blame of Democratic Governor Tim Walz, as you just heard. Walz, of course, ran against President Trump on the Democratic ticket in 2024. And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said he did not do enough to stop the fraud as governor. Take a listen to her here.
People will be in handcuffs as a result of the fraud that Governor Walz has allowed to occur for many, many years. The Department of Homeland Security is conducting door-to-door investigations on the ground at potential fraud sites, and they're also, of course, conducting continued deportations of illegal aliens in Minnesota's communities. We're also not afraid to use denaturalization.
Yeah, Leavitt also added that the Department of State is considering and looking at denaturalization or taking away the U.S. citizenship of some of those Somali Americans in Minnesota. And
Those
she added
78 people haven't been debunked, have they? They got handcuffs.
that Minnesota could just be the first Democrat-ran state to be looked at and investigated in this way for fraud in a closer kind of magnifying glass from the federal government, adding that California and New York have, quote, massive fraud and could be next.
I also want to ask you about the president vetoing a pair of bipartisan bills this week. What do we know, and how rare is it for the president to exercise this power?
Yeah, the first veto is of a bill to complete a water pipeline in southeastern Colorado, and that would have an impact on Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, the Republican in the House who broke with President Trump by supporting the release of further Epstein files. And she said that this veto is, quote, political retaliation. In a letter to Congress explaining his veto, President Trump said he thought that federal taxpayers should not pick up more of the bill when it comes to funding this pipeline. And he also criticized Colorado Colorado for its level of immigration, those leaving the state, and the
guy get a job
persecution
in the
of
news?
Tina Peters, a county clerk in Colorado convicted on election interference charges. In terms of the frequency of vetoes, it is rare. These are the first 2 vetoes of his second term. During his first term, he only vetoed 10 bills. In comparison, President Biden vetoed 13 bills while he was in the White House. So this is especially rare for a president when his own political party is in power in Congress.
And that is a good point. Let's get back over to the PBD interview. Patrick Bet David, I recommend everybody go subscribe to this channel. Great interviewer and does get to the hard questions. And this is about Elon Musk tweeted 48 times, which helped boost what Nick Shirley is doing. Let's have a listen.
Latest, Rob.
Thank
What is the latest? Like, has anything even happened today? You know how the president has a reputation on Christmas Day to attack Nigerian ISIS? You know,
Trump hasn't said anything so far.
He hasn't
you can leave those up there.
Said anything?
Not referring to my video, no.
Zilch.
Yeah, zilch.
Why do you think?
I think he's either coming up with something where it's so solidified where something major happens. And I mean, Pam Bondi came out with what she said, where over 90 people have been so far prosecuted, or they've gotten 90 people and 60 of them had admitted to fraud. But I don't
60 of them had admitted to fraud.
Yes, found guilty. I don't know if that was of this week or if those were prior people, but I mean, I literally just threw the administration a layup to go in and really get people back on their side.
Have you tweeted at them? Have you sent a tweet at Kash Patel and the president and Pam Bondi and just saying something like Mayor Suarez said? Remember when Elon Musk said about what was going on in California when Newsom and some of the guys didn't want Tesla to be open during COVID? And then Suarez tweeted out, "How can I help?"
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you tweet out, "How can I help?" Trump, Kash, Bondi.
Should we do it right now?
Do it right now. I would be, because I'm willing to bet, folks, if you're watching this, can you do me a favor? He's going to retweet this. I'm going to retweet it. Can you go on X and just retweet this?
Sure.
It's a very basic question.
All right, what do we want to say?
I think you just pose a question. It's an open-ended question. Dear Mr. President, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi, how can I help? Question mark. That's it. Respectfully. Dear Mr. President, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, how can I help? I would be curious if anybody reaches out to you. Because if you're doing part 2, you were just there yesterday. Because I saw the first one, there wasn't much snow. The second one, there was more snow. When you went there, it seemed like it was colder. And then now you're having a hard time even going in the streets without security because people coming after you.
Well, now people are going to think I'm a Fed after I tweet this, so we'll see what happens. All right. Dear Mr. President, real Donald Trump and AG Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, how can I help?
How can I help? Very open-ended.
From 2 days ago.
Very open-ended. I'm just curious. Because what makes your, yeah, there it is. What makes your...
That tweet got 1.5 million views 2 days ago.
Approach different is you're a good guy who's curious, who wants America to be better. Let me go to this so I can retweet it.
Everybody watching, you all better go retweet that. I don't want people to think I'm a Fed.
Well, the good news is now you're being there's documentation. Oh, okay, it's already got a bunch of retweets. Okay, good, and I just retweeted it as well. Perfect. Let's see if they respond. I think they will. I think they will. I think the way the president works, sometimes he gets ahead of it. Sometimes he has his team. He can't be everywhere at the same time. But I have a feeling. He's been dealing with
Ukraine this week.
Say that again?
He's been dealing a lot with Ukraine.
He's been dealing with Ukraine. He's been dealing with a lot of stuff. But to me, on Christmas Day, he did what? On Christmas Day, he went after Nigeria, right? And everyone's like, wait a minute, Christmas Day, Nigeria? I think this is something where everybody, I mean, how many tweets has Elon, can you go on Elon Musk's tweet? How many of Musk's tweet are just about this topic? How many of Musk's tweet since December 26th that you posted this, how many times has he retweeted a video of somebody that retweeted about you or this topic?
It was 48.
A lot.
Okay, so let's just count this. Let's just count this, okay? Number 1, that's about you. Keep going. Okay. Number 2 is an election last year. House. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. What is this one here?
Tesla.
Tesla. Okay, keep going. Keep going. I've probably seen 40 tweets. What is that about? What is that one about? Illegal immigrants? Virginia? Okay,
This next one is about me.
Okay, this is you?
About not being called a racist, about fraud.
Okay, so that's 2. Keep going. So this is 22 hours. Keep going. Scott Jennings, about you.
Yep.
Okay, because that's the investigation. Keep going. And this is Elon Musk.
That's
okay,
about
that's
me.
you. That's you. So keep going. So that's J.D. Vance and Elon.
5.
That's also you. Keep going. That's 5 tweets already. Keep going. What is that? Illegal aliens?
Fraud.
Fraud. So that's 6. Keep going. You know, no, that's not. That's Tesla. Keep going.
Rock.
Keep going. Keep going. That's you. That's you. Okay, keep going.
7.
7 right there. So
8 right
8,
there. That's about fraud.
That's right. Keep going. And that's 13 hours. That's in the last 13 hours. Keep going. 7 and 13 hours. The guy that's got 230 million followers has tweeted 7 things about things that you influenced. That's it as well, right?
Right there.
8. Yep.
8. Keep going.
9.
That's 9. Bill Ackman.
Fraud.
10.
And now,
Okay.
as we look at this,
11.
we're going to watch a story about CNN tries to spin the Minnesota fraud scandal. Let's check this out.
Are descending on the state of Minnesota, all in response to a sweeping fraud scheme. Here's Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons.
What we're seeing is there's always a tide when it comes to sanctuary jurisdictions where you can hide in plain sight. You see a lot of these fraudsters use a lot of the sanctuary rules and sanctuary protections to, enact in criminal fraud just like this. When Homeland Security Investigations goes into these businesses, there is criminal activity when it comes to labor trafficking, child trafficking, human exploitation, and that's what we're looking at up there in Minnesota.
And this is the story everybody's talking about right now. For more on this, we are joined by CBP Senior Advisor Ron Vitiello. Ron, good morning to you. Great to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
We are 25 subscribers away from hitting 25,000 subscribers again. I was on a little vacation for a minute. So if everybody would not only hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit your notification bells, we are almost at 25K again. Thank you so much, everybody.
Of course. So some Republicans are pushing the idea that any Somalis who are convicted of defrauding American taxpayers as part of this scheme should have their legal status revoked, even their U.S. citizenship stripped away. Here's Republican Congressman from Minnesota, Tom Emmer. He says, quote, I have 3 words regarding Somalis who have committed fraud against American taxpayers. Send them home. If they're here illegally, deport them immediately. If they're naturalized citizens, revoke their citizenship and deport them quickly after. If we need to change the law to do that, I will. Ron, as you are well aware, denaturalization is a pretty rare process. It's also very tedious. Should it be on the table here?
Absolutely. That's the way the law works. If you defraud the government, and obviously there's a lot of fraud going on in Minnesota in this case, the U.S. Attorney's talking about up to $9 billion. The federal government sends Minnesota $26 billion every year. That's about a third of their budget, and they certainly weren't watching what was happening. And so if these people are involved in fraud to get that money and send it all over the world to keep it for themselves, they may have lied on their citizenship applications. They might have lied on how they came into the country, et cetera, what benefits they exposed themselves to on the immigration side. And if they lied about that, then they could be removed if they're in the country as immigrants, and if they're citizens and they lied on those in that process, they could be denaturalized.
And there are some media outlets who are kind of pushing back on this DHS crackdown in the state of Minnesota, essentially saying this is all about demonizing immigrants and Somalis. Take a listen.
The other part of this is an attempt to make this about Somalis in general, as opposed to just about the people who are responsible. It's not really about the fraud.
This is absolutely an attack on the Somali community and on immigrants writ large. The vast majority of the Somali residents of Minnesota are citizens. They're not new immigrants. So this is just a further example of the Trump White House doing everything they can to vilify immigrants.
But I mean, Ron, you look at the numbers. There have been 92 people charged in this fraud scheme in Minnesota. 82 of them have been Somalis. Facts are facts. The overwhelming majority of the people committing these crimes are foreigners who have come here to take advantage of the American taxpayer. Give us your thoughts.
And that's just it. Wow, this is money being stolen from food programs for kids, addiction programs for parents who have addiction issues, mental health, transportation, elderly. It goes on and on.
100%. We had an administration with Joe Biden.
Not just the daycare.
That was encouraging people to come in the United States. Apparently, they're encouraging people to come to Minnesota and steal taxpayers' money that's designed to help that very community. This is a crime that happened in a place, and that crime was conducted by certain people that are in the United States. They happen to be from Somalia, and so they're the ones that are going to be prosecuted and removed. And so the left that wants to run to the microphone and protect people who are in the country illegally, who have committed crimes and have defrauded,
especially children and elderly who are in need of this funding.
Americans, they don't deserve our respect.
And I do want to ask you about another topic. Brand new report out regarding ICE arrests essentially says that new data shows that 70% of ICE arrests in 2025 were convicted criminals or people with pending charges. This from the Washington Examiner essentially says that in 2025, ICE arrested 595,000 illegal immigrants. And according to DHS data, 70% of them, about 416,000, have criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. Ron, got about 30 seconds left here. Democrats and activists have repeatedly said that ICE is not targeting criminals, but the data says otherwise.
Yeah, the facts are here, right? We've heard Tom Homan say this. We've heard the secretary and her leadership say this is what's going on. We're going after the worst of the worst. They're going after the worst of the worst. ICE is putting up record numbers on the board. Over almost 2 million people have decided to leave the country because they're here illegally. The policies are working. The front line is empowered to do a great job for America, and we're making America safe as we speak. The border's been locked down for the last year almost.
All right, got to leave it there. Ron Vitiello, Senior CBP Advisor. Thanks for coming on.
There you go. We're going to jump over to a former federal investigator. Minnesota leaders shut down past fraud investigations. Let's take a look at this.
My first guest tonight is a former agent with Homeland Security Investigations who previously looked into fraudulent Minnesota daycares. He was doing this back in 2015. He says despite finding evidence
some of that footage from 2015. Unbelievable.
Sham centers, even serving warrants, he says his task force was disbanded without any reason. Jeremy Christensen joining me tonight. Thanks for being here, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. You said these cases, you investigated them, nothing happened. They went into thin air, no prosecutions. How do you think this played out? What happened here?
Well, like I said, I was assigned to a state task force. Let me be clear. This wasn't a federal task force. This was run by the state of Minnesota, Department of Human Services. And so they ran it. And my personal belief is that the powers to be higher up in the state of Minnesota just didn't want the case to move forward, and therefore it just went away. I mean, we don't go out and serve search warrants, collect tons of evidence, do surveillance, do all this. I mean, search warrants are your last line of investigation when you're getting ready to go forward with charges. We had served multiple warrants. I mean, just an immense amount of documents and so forth we seized, and then all of a sudden the task force just went away. That just does not make any sense. And again, to be clear, during this time, this was a local case and a local prosecution. It was not a federal case, even though I was assigned as a federal agent to the task force.
So do you think the safeguard broke down at the local level or the state level?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's no question in my mind that the powers to be higher up within the state of Minnesota shut this down. No question in my mind whatsoever.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they did that instead of this investigation now getting worse and opening up years later?
Because there was no reason to disband that task force. I'm confident the person that was in charge of that task force was actually chastised. I think if that person ever comes forward, they may have some enlightening experiences working for the state, because that my understanding was that things didn't go well for that person's career based on this case.
Jeremy, I have to say, this wasn't a small task force. This was 20 agents. Have you spoken with them about these investigations? Or the person that was leading that you mentioned that may have been chastised?
Not personally in the last few years. Like I said, I retired in 2022, but I am in contact with several of my colleagues within HSI yet, and they all are in agreement to it with
13 subscribers away from hitting 25,000 subscribers on this channel. I would really appreciate it if you haven't, consider hitting that, not only the like button, but that subscribe and hit those notification bells. We are going to be covering this story and many others in the coming weeks, and we're glad to have you here.
How terribly this went, and but as far as the ones that ran the task force, no. Again, they were HA's Department of Human Services investigators, and I'm trying to think if they're even law enforcement credentialed in Minnesota. I can't quite recall if they're even fully credentialed law enforcement or if they're civilian investigators with Health and Human Services, but again, the heat came down on them pretty hard. These poor investigators, I really feel for them. They really did a wonderful job working this case, but I don't even know if it ever made it to the county attorney's office for charges other than being shut down at the higher levels within the state.
Especially with millions of dollars being squandered here. Governor Tim Walz responded today. He said he spent years cracking down on fraud. Of course, he's referring cases to law enforcement shutting down high-risk programs. You just laughed. Tell me what you think came of his investigations.
That investigation, my only saving grace right now is that HSI stepping in and doing this investigation, because the state's not capable of doing this. They don't have the integrity to complete investigation fair and impartial. I have a tremendous confidence in my HSI colleagues that are now actively working with this. I think we'll hopefully get some resolution with this, because I trust my HSI colleagues. As long as they get the good support from the U.S. Attorney's Office, I think we might see some resolution on the federal side with this. Under the state side, I absolutely see no resolution with the state of Minnesota. They don't have the forethought to handle an investigation like this and to be fair and impartial.
Do you feel vindicated here, Jeremy, now that federal authorities are getting involved, even if it's years later?
I do. And like I said, I have complete confidence in my HSI colleagues that they will make this case go as long as they get the support from the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I cannot tell you how many of my colleagues, past and present, have reached out to me since I came out about this, that are thankful that I came forward with this, because we were muzzled for years. It was just heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking to put up with this and have to deal with this and not be able to talk about this for years.
I can't imagine. Can you share with me and the viewers what you saw when you showed up to these facilities?
This is a former federal agent who in 2015 and for years was investigating this fraud. It has been there. It has been an issue. Thank you so much, Raylan. It has been an issue. And I'll tell you, it's an issue that needs to be investigated completely. People are opposed to finding out the truth, saying that it's been debunked. Nothing's been debunked. It's being investigated. These are all allegations.
Yeah, it's just like they are now. Matter of fact, I'm pretty confident I've been to some of these same ones that the YouTuber posted. They were just like that, except for when we went, there weren't even people there. They were empty. We had to force entry. Wasn't a soul there. They were just absolutely completely empty. Stacks and stacks of invoices and records, but yet not a person there. Not a person there.
Do you think people will be held accountable now that it is making national headlines?
I do. Like I said, I have confidence in my HSI colleagues in Minneapolis that they're going to make this case go. There's some awesome investigators. As long as they have the support from the U.S. Attorney's Office, I suspect they're going to make some serious headway on this.
You mentioned you retired a few.
We have just hit 25,000 subscribers. You know, I cannot thank you enough. Please keep hitting that subscribe button. Let's put it over the top. Words cannot express my gratitude. Thank you so much. Let's keep it going.
Years ago, but with your expertise, what happens next in a case like this, Jeremy?
Well, you know, depending how well the state cooperates, if they have evidence yet that we uncovered years ago, if they can get that evidence is going to be too stale. They're going to have to restart this investigation in a lot of ways. They're going to have to hopefully, you know, start surveillance again, establish fresh probable cause that these centers are empty. They're going to have to get fresh documents, because you can't use documents 10 years old for search warrants and indictments. You're going to need fresh information. So they're going to have to refresh the case, which is going to be a lot of work. work. But hopefully they get some cooperation from the state and get all the old records from the old investigators that work this.
Thank you.
My case is there. All my records and all my reports from when I did it are there. So there's some stuff to work on. But they basically got to refresh this case and kind of start from.
It was a difficult 2025, and this really is a great way to start off 2026. I am humbled, and I am so grateful for all of you hitting that subscribe button and being here with me. I appreciate it. Can't do it without you. Thank you.
Over and gather all new evidence, because a lot of the evidence is just simply too old to use for fresh indictments or fresh warrants.
Sometimes they'll knock that sub off. So make sure you double check, hit those notification bells, and make sure you see all of my live streams about this topic and many more. I have pre-recorded videos, so check out the catalog.
We're certainly not letting up on this investigation. We appreciate your time and insight. Jeremy Christensen, thank you again.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.
Boy, I lost the end there for a second. I was getting, it's really something to go through what I've gone through this year and to be off for a couple months and come back and have this happen. It really is great. It really is great. So let's get into the next story. I want to keep the show going. Liberal media calls out Tim Walz over Minnesota's fraud scandal. That is the name of this piece. Let's have a look.
Washington Post editorial board is calling for stricter SNAP qualifications across the U.S. as Minnesota fraud scandals unravel under Governor Tim Walz. They say, quote, Walz's boondoggle underlines the need for serious reforms across America. Too bad that too many progressive leaders are lackadaisical at best about cracking down on fraud and errors, lest it curtail social services.
Joining us now is senior writer for the Washington Examiner and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, SNAP is the fourth most likely for fraud of federal programs. Your reaction to the Washington Post editorial board?
Well, you got to wonder, guys, if Governor Tim Walz will blame white supremacy for the Washington Post editorial board, not exactly a bastion of conservative sentiment, an editorial board who's never endorsed a Republican presidential candidate in its history, by the way. They're now even calling out Walz and other Minnesota state leaders, and rightly, because now you got to look at all the pressure from federal government under Donald Trump and what he's doing in putting the pressure on Minnesota, and rightly, given the billions of dollars that were stolen, allegedly, by members of the Somali community for many years. HHS has now cut off all child care funds. The Department of Agriculture now investigating SNAP. The Labor Department is now investigating unemployment insurance fraud. And Homeland Security, Justice Department, they're now executing search warrants in a door-to-door fashion. This is a full-court press. And I'll leave it here, by the way. Betting markets are now saying that Governor Tim Walz, again, a vice presidential candidate with Kamala Harris in 2024, not too long ago, he now has a 30 times more chance of being indicted than he does of winning the presidency. The way this is going at this point, Nate, I think you might as well put that at 30,000 times at this point.
Joe, honestly, this system, it just needs to be cleaned up. And I know this is, I don't know if this is going to sound good or bad, but maybe this needed to happen at such an obscene level for people to realize how much these programs are being taken advantage of, because a lot of people rely on this and they're just getting swept under the rug because so many people are doing so many things wrong. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, Ashley, absolutely. And it's not only like what should have been provided. I mean, in some cases, it was an apparition to begin with. I mean, we're talking about food programs for hungry children.
There you go.
In places that didn't even produce the types of facilities that would provide that. Or even worse, autism services. We know that problem's only getting worse in this country. All these centers that were supposed to open that never even existed. And when you talk about billions of dollars, we're not talking on a federal level where you can say, well, that's not too much when you consider that we're talking like trillions of dollars. This is at a state level that doesn't remotely have the budget for this. So again, accountability goes to the top. That goes to Tim Walz, and he has been deflecting, playing the race card from the bottom of the deck. And now at this point, even liberal media is now investigating this. There is nowhere to go for this man. And we have to wonder, a year from now, will this be seen as one of the biggest stories of 2026? And hey, whatever happened to that guy, Tim Walz, who was running for president at one point?
Well, hopefully he's held accountable, like you said, to the fullest degree.
For sure. Joe, so I want to get your take on this back and forth between President Donald Trump.
This fella. Check this fella out.
and actor George Clooney. So we're going to start by showing you Trump's Truth Social. It reads, quote, "Good news. George and Amal Clooney, two of the worst political prognosticators of all time, have officially become citizens of France, which is sadly in the midst of a major crime problem because of their absolutely horrendous handling of immigration."
So let's get back to a little bit of this Nick Shirley video exposing double fraud, triple fraud, all kinds of fraud here. And the truth will come out.
We do have a bus here. This is different. We'll see if we see anybody. I knocked on the door. Absolutely nobody was inside. And once again, no children could be heard anywhere. So David, once again, another child daycare center. We have a bus out here. No one's inside. Licensed for over 50 kids. No children anywhere. But yet, millions of dollars every single year.
So the sign says Creative Minds Daycare. They got in so much trouble, they had so many violations that they had to shut down, and they reopened the next day under Super Kids Daycare Center. You see 3801 Portland, 3801 Portland, which is where we are.
So that's fraud right there alone.
Millions and millions of dollars, and again, the kids are missing. Where are the kids?
You would think if they had the same address, that whoever's inside were working at the...
That is the main question here. That is the main question here.
Capital here inside of Minnesota would say, oh, maybe that's a red flag.
They just write the check. Human Services, they got to clean out the whole bunch. They're the ones who enabled this fraud. How can you not look and say, wait a minute, these two are registered at the same address?
On top of all of the child care centers, that's just only a small piece of the fraud. What other fraud are they committing here in Minnesota?
So another major piece of the fraud is the home health care industry. Where we're going now...
That is true, James. He has been tracking all of this fraud in real time over the past 5 years.
Is a building that has 14 Somali-owned home health care companies in the same building.
14 of the same healthcare companies in one building.
14 home health care companies with different names in the same building.
How bad has Tim Walz managed the budget here inside of Minnesota?
So the last biennium, we had an $18 billion surplus. This biennium, we have a $6 billion deficit. Wow. That's a $24 billion swing in one biennium. How in the world can you burn through $24 billion in 2 years? This is how, right here. This is a huge part of it.
And so would you say a lot of that is fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Absolutely. I would say better than 90% of it is absolute outright fraud.
And a large percentage of this...
Let's try and get this video to 200 likes too. We're almost there. I appreciate everybody being here. We have hit 25,000 subscribers today. That's a big milestone on YouTube. And I want to appreciate everybody for being a part of it.
Fraud is from these healthcare companies that are charging the state millions of dollars.
I mean, I want to tell you how much I appreciate people for you. My head's still spinning a little bit, quite honestly.
They actually aren't providing anything. In fact, the FBI just did a raid a few days ago on a building similar to the one we are about to enter. Inside of this building, there were 14 of nearly the exact same businesses offering the exact same services. Right here, you have a list of all of the healthcare companies. Loads of them right here. Wow. We want healthcare.
No, it's okay.
Yes, we'd like to speak about getting healthcare here.
No.
Why can't I get healthcare here?
No, wait.
Warning, you are under video surveillance. No trespassing, security armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here.
We're getting there.
Another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company.
I mean, look at
Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think's been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers, and they actually took down our information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that someone matching your description were in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare. Because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building, so.
Okay.
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
Okay.
So he's here with some kind of like propaganda.
No, we're just checking.
No, this is a area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason that you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's not.
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
No, you're not.
Okay. if you guys are all good, we're gonna step outside and we can continue this conversation.
All right, let's leave. So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this address.
Yeah.
So
as we got escorted out of this building, the Somalis filmed us as we left, and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
Right here you have multicultural home care. And right here it says it's open, but can't even get in. Another Reliance Recovery Center. Mercy and Grace Care, Inc. Right here you have Denden Eritrean Youth Development Association of Minnesota. Another child care center.
A few likes away from 200 likes, guys. Hit that like button. Let's get it over the top.
Welcome to Bright Beginning Center. But what do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Sorry. No comments. Can I please?
Right here, you have Serenity Quality Care. All of these businesses are literally the same type of business, providing the same service in the same building. Another Convenience Home Healthcare, Aid, Inc., and Child Friendly Space. All these companies get money from the government. Why would you have the same company essentially inside of the same building, door to door? Right here, Queenly Home Health Care. It just does not make sense. If you were trying to operate a business, you'd want to have less competition. But here, they have all of their competition right next door. We're wondering, because we hear there's lots of fraud taking place here in Minnesota, and we're wondering why is there so many of the same companies inside of this same building?
No, I don't know that.
What do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't have any idea about that fraud, okay? That's it.
What do you think about the news articles and what's being spread on the news about the fraud?
Right now, you are doing something wrong.
I'm just asking you
No, you
about
don't
the
have
fraud.
to ask me, okay? Don't ask me that question again. Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Who can I speak to? Who can I speak to? Okay. As soon as you confront about the fraud, they get angry. When these people have these home healthcare companies,
he was a little bit hostile.
You're seeing them everywhere inside this building. What kind of fraud are they committing?
So there's false documentation being submitted to the state of Minnesota for services never provided. They're having forms signed in advance for services that were then never rendered. As far as a year or 2 years in advance, they'll have someone sign these forms at one sitting, and then they just file those with the state of Minnesota, and nobody from the state of Minnesota bothers to check that those services were ever provided.
So they're essentially just using people, saying that they had these services provided months or even years ago, then filing the paperwork and then receiving money from the government.
Right, and the Somali community is a very closed community, so everybody's in on it, and they don't want to talk, as you can see.
And for this building, I'm going to give an estimate of around $30 million for how much fraud is taking place.
Sounds like a Somafia to me.
That is a very low estimate. However, still a lot of money in fraud.
And do you think there is fraud taking place here?
I don't know. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what any of these businesses are doing?
I never ask.
And now with upwards of
he's in the building. He never asked. What is he doing in the building?
$100 million in fraud will be headed to one more daycare, and this one gets a little spicy as we get chased out at the very end. And after this, we'll be heading to the state capitol to confront the incompetent government leaders who have enabled this fraud to happen.
And I knew this video was going to be super dangerous to film because of obviously how hostile it is, and as we are exposing legit fraud happening. I did get security for this video, and I was able to do it through the Black Line Guardian. And if you guys want to help fund my security in the future, you can go down to the link down below. They're not paying me to say any of this. They came and decided to help me out for this video. So you can go to Blackline Guardian, the link's down below, and click Guardian for Nick, and those funds will directly go to my security and future videos as we are exposing lots of things happening, especially with this fraud. Like I said, they're not sponsoring this video. I'm just giving them a shout out because of how they helped me.
So according to Nick on another interview, he has to hire 4 armed security people just to go and do this. 4 armed security to go and do this.
So go down the link down below, click Guardian for Nick, and let's keep going. And now we're going to the next location. Now, this child daycare center, this one's different than all the other ones we've been to. Tell us about this one.
This one is different because, according to the state of Minnesota, this...
Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with Nick Shirley on this one. Excuse me. And put a 2 in the chat if you are against Nick in his quest. So 1 if you're for Nick, 2 if you're against Nick. Let's see where everybody stands here.
312 West Lake Street houses not 1, not 2, but 3 child care centers and is licensed to hold 102 children, and in fiscal year 2025 was paid $2.66 million by the state of Minnesota.
And this is the building right here. So this building alone made $2.6 million. Let's see if anybody's inside. Now we're inside of the building where there's apparently 4 child care centers.
We met this lady and we followed her to the back of the building where the daycare was supposedly at.
So right here we have 2 child daycare centers. We have the Minnesota Child Care Center, and then we also have Nuna. Between the two, $2.66 million.
I hope you've all subscribed and hit the like button, and make sure you hit those notification bells.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Why are you recording?
Yes. We would like to know.
Well, it says we're trying to figure out 102 children. Is that for this facility?
What is the name?
It's from the state of Minnesota website. It says you have 102 children here in your child care.
Which child care name is a lot of
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website. We're just wondering where the children are.
Where the children are?
Yeah, where are the...
Yeah, don't answer a question with a question, honey. Where are the 100 kids that you are billing for?
Children. It says you have 102 children here.
102 that they are billing. Okay? So if 5 kids are there, then they're still billing for the other, 90 plus. That's still illegal.
And you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you? Which department? That is harassment.
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Woo! Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look at this daycare center right here. No children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million. We are just curious, where are the children at? Do you know where the children are at? Where are the children at in these daycare centers?
I don't care.
How can these child care centers have no children?
I don't know. No.
There's $2.6 million inside these businesses that were given by the government, but there's no children to be seen anywhere. People deserve to know where their taxes are going. If these companies...
And if you aren't subscribed to Nick Shirley, he does a lot of investigative, independent journalism.
And these daycare centers are making upwards of $2.6 million.
He puts himself in some crazy situations, I'll tell you that right now. Hats off.
$1 million, and there's no children to be seen anywhere. Something fraudulent is happening. And that is not make you racist, Islamophobic. This is just the truth of what's happening here in Minnesota. If there's a bunch of white people doing the same thing, we'd be talking about the same issue. This is just fraud at unprecedented levels here inside Minnesota. It's actually very concerning. Where are the children at inside of these buildings? They're nowhere to be seen. Millions of dollars are being sent into these daycare centers all across Minnesota, and there's not a child to be seen anywhere.
Not a child to be seen anywhere. And that is the point of, that is the entire point. That is the entire point. There's red flags and there's hard truth. And either this becomes one of the biggest money scandals in Minnesota history, or it becomes another example of how viral allegations can outrun the facts. Either way, the damage to the public trust is set in stone. And at the end of the day, the story is not about Nick Shirley, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, or even Donald Trump. It's about $9 billion that people believe is missing, misused, or hidden, and a system that's supposed to account for every dollar. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining me today. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. We hit 25,000 subscribers today. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for your participation in the chat. And we will be doing this again and again until we get some answers. And we will be doing it right here on the Zero Dark Tony channel. Truth is a moving target. And I want to thank everybody so much for participating and being here today. I really appreciate it. And again, I said truth is a moving target. Do your own research, get your own opinions, and bring them back here, because I'm going to see you. That's right, on the next one. Thank you so much for joining me.